behalf of Pulkari, welcome all the distinguished guests to today's event. A quick word about Pulkari. Pulkari is an organization of the women, by the women, and for the women. It is a community of strong, kind-hearted ladies whose vibrance for the last 3 years has been working for a difference in the society. Pulkari is one of a kind platform to explore different horizons leading to self-discovery. Each Pulkari woman, though ordinary, somehow stands out with a different personality to make a change in the society and immediate environment. COVID-19 has struck the world and in the process changed the way we lived. It is affecting every aspect of our lifestyle, our education system, our thought processes, and the list goes on. Online classes and seminars is the natural outcome of this change. Pulkari is no exception to this. Today is the 27th Pulkari online event of the year 2020. We have chosen a very appropriate topic for today, situational awareness. Stay alert, stay safe. In one line, simply knowing what is going on around you. We need to realize that situational awareness is more of a mindset than a hard skill. Be it the present COVID-stricken environment, or being on the road, or in the workplace, or even in the theater, we need to be conscious enough to notice subtle signs of danger. This is the need of the hour. Pulkari brings to you this webinar on situational awareness today. My most special guest of the day, Deepti Shankar, requires no introduction, ladies and gentlemen, but I deem it my pleasure to welcome her and to introduce her. First Indian woman trained in Israel in reality-based self-defense systems, instructor Air Nardia Kapap Combatives, Muay Thai soft skills, and communication trainer, founder and director Safe Campus. This model is now being adopted by many prestigious schools of India like Welham Girls Dehradun, Mayo College Ajmer, the Lawrence School Sanawar, Sindhya Kanya Vidyalay, etc. She has been relentlessly working towards the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of the children. I also take this opportunity to welcome the principals of eminent schools and colleges of Amritsar, Dr. Anita Menon, Principal, DAV College of Education, Mr. Vijay Mehra, Principal, Senior Study 2, Dr. Neera Sharma, Principal, DAV Public School, Lawrence Road, Mrs. Sangeeta Singh, Principal, DPS School, Dr. Anjana Gupta, Principal, DAV International School, Mrs. Kanchan Mehra, Principal, Senior Study 1, Mrs. Anu Babbar, Vice Principal, Springdale Senior School, Mrs. Gunita Grewal, Principal and Director, Excelsior High School, Madam Vinodita Sankyan, Principal, Sri Ram Ashram Public School, and Mrs. Shweta Agarwal, Principal, Cambridge International School, who is our very own Pulkari member and a great asset to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Shireen Kumar, Principal, Tenderfeet, would be moderating the session today. A woman with varied interests, she's a voracious reader, prolific writer, and an absolute fun to be with. Over to you, Shireen, for the rest of the proceedings.
Thank you, Romita. Thank you so much. Hi, Deepti. Welcome again. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Shireen. Thank you, Romita. I'm very, very happy to be here today, and I'm doing fantastic seeing such lovely faces.
Romita has told us about your amazing accomplishments. Honestly, so impressed. But tell us more about Deepti the person. Give us a brief as to how and why you came into this subject. How did you wind up taking it up as a profession? Was it a personal trigger or something else?
Shireen, it's been such an interesting and arduous journey to where I am today. It is really fun for me to say that I'm a fashion designer by profession from NIFT Calcutta. And thank you so much. And from there to becoming a personal safety instructor has been a paradigm shift in my career. And it's only because growing up as a girl in India, I had so many times this feeling in my heart which said, I as a girl am not independent. I cannot take my own decisions a lot of times because of the fear and stigma attached to the safety of girls and women in our society. Even when I grew up and being a woman, having a family of her own, having her own children, I was still not convinced with the idea that I as a woman are we are capable of dealing with ourselves in every possible way in our lives. And that, I think, brought me to a place where I decided, no, I want to do something that makes me strong, that makes me empowered, that gives me the courage to go out and do whatever I want to, no matter what. And this is what took me to Israel, and I trained with the special forces in Israel.
Well, I have nothing to say to that. That must have been a very tough call.
It was.
And
And
yeah,
And Shireen, especially when you're a mother of two children, and then at the age of 30, you decide to take it
Yeah.
up as a career. And it's so hard to convince people around you that this is something that you want to do, because for a woman, taking up a career in personal safety is something that most people have not heard of in our country.
and perhaps the biggest need of the R&R country where the girls are so unsafe. Every single day we
Yes,
see that.
yes,
So,
yes.
so situational awareness has a very broad spectrum. What would be the first thing that would, you would say to us about situational awareness today?
I think the first thing I would like to say about situational awareness is have your mind present to yourself. Everybody says that, oh no, it's the presence of mind. It's not presence of mind, it's present in the mind. And there's a major difference between the two. So when I say present in the mind, I mean to say that the moment you are aware of your surroundings, you know where you are, you know what could go wrong, you know what kind of things that you could have done. It's like a bulb that lights up in your head and says, hey, don't worry, I can take care of myself. That is all is situational awareness.
So a lack of fear also, basically, I guess.
Yes.
A whole lot of us are fearful
Yeah.
about everything in life, all situations where we freeze, where we are unable to yell, or maybe, that mind which is supposed to be present is just not so present. Yes. Deepti, are you there?
Like
Yeah.
saying, Shireen, when something goes wrong, people say, I blacked out. I
Yeah.
could not feel what was
I
happening.
froze. Yeah.
Talk about. Yes, that blackout that we talk about, you do not have an access to the answer to the situation at that point in time. For example, I ask you a simple question. 2 plus 2 is how much, Shireen?
4, I
How
guess.
much? 2 plus 2 is how much? 4. 2.2 and 2.2 is how much? 4.4. But when I say 2.325 and 2.679, you'll have to pick up a pen and paper and
Yes.
then work it out. That is what is situational. That's 2 plus 2. It comes like this. It
Yes.
sparks you up and says, I know how to deal with this.
True. So,
Where are you?
going a little. I think Deepti, your audio, or maybe is it mine, or is it Deepti's audio that is kind of, yes? Can everybody hear?
Is my audio clear?
Yes, Deepti, in between it was fading in and out. Do we repeat what you said? Because that was really good. If you could, please.
Okay, yeah. So, like I said, 2 plus 2 is how much? That's 4. And that's so easy. Everybody knows it because we've all practiced it so many times.
Absolutely.
And when I say 2.2 plus 2.2, you think, and then you say 4.4.
Yeah.
But when I say 2.325 and 2.679,
Yeah.
you will have to pick up a paper
Absolutely.
and pen to do that.
Yeah.
Because you don't do it all the time. So situational awareness is exactly like this. If you practice staying aware and alert, it's like 2 plus 2. Yes, I know how to deal with it. But if you do not practice it and you get stuck in a difficult situation, it's really difficult to get out of that.
And when we talk about situations, and let us, try to understand more if we were to take some kind of a specific situation. Say, for example, the very unfortunate Nirbhaya case. It like pulls at our heartstrings for all of us. Do you think the consequences
Absolutely
may have been different? The consequences could have been different had there been more situational awareness there. Though I hate to say it in retrospect, but what do you feel about it?
Shireen, I know it's been very, very sad incident that happened, and we've been talking about it for years and years. And every time we bring the name Nirbhaya, it instills fear in people. Even today, you talk to girls, women, mothers,
Yeah.
that very incidence makes you feel so vulnerable, and you start worrying about the girls and women around you. But at the same time, I would like to say it could have been avoided had it been a situation where Nirbhaya knew how to deal with situations like this. What I mean to say is, I can be a doctor, engineer, scientist only if I live. Nirbhaya was a doctor. And had she lived, she would have been able to contribute so much to the society and the world around her. But because along with the subjects that we read, Hindi, English, math, science, personal safety is never introduced to our children in their growing up years. It does not naturally come to them to understand how to deal with situations. So quickly giving you 5 pointers. In my language, I call it protection pentagon. So a protection pentagon means that every situation has 5 things that you have to relate to. The first of it is situational awareness, which means see, look around yourself. At 9 o'clock in the night on 16th of December, when it is foggy, there are not many people on streets. This girl and a boy are standing at a bus stop waiting for a bus. There is a bus that comes their way and they hop onto the bus. Once they go inside the bus, there were 5-6 people inside and they were all of the same genre. When I say the same genre, what I mean to say that they were all drivers and conductors. They did not look like, yes, it does not look like somebody was coming from office. There was no lady, there was no family, there was no child. So it was an alarm enough to tell us that something is not right here. They hop onto the bus and then these people were drinking, which was proven in the court as well. They were drunk. As a girl growing up in India, each one of us is aware when you step into a place where you can smell booze, your mind says, this place doesn't look safe to me.
Back off. Yeah, kind of
back off.
Try to
Yes, yes. They did not do that. They got onto the bus and in spite of having pointers, having alarms to tell them this is not a safe place, they decided to go and sit at the last seat of the bus. A bus which did not have an exit at the end. It had only one entry exit from where they had gotten inside the bus. There were 5-6 people who were sitting in the front of the bus along with the driver. The boy and the girl went and sat on the last seat. They were busy with themselves. And that triggered the conversation between these people and the boy and the girl. The people started walking towards them and they started making comments. "Kahan se aa rahe ho? Itni raat ko kahan ghumne gaye the? Acha, kya chal raha hai?" So they started having this conversation. While this conversation was happening, Shireen, the boy and the girl sitting at the last seat were ignoring the situation because we bring up our children saying, when there is a problem, it's okay, beta, just don't look at it. It's bad. They're bad people. It's none of your business. You focus on what you are doing. I would like to say there's a very thin line between ignoring and avoiding a situation. I would prefer to avoid. And when I say avoid, I know that you are coming towards me. I know that you are using a certain language.
Yes. Don't look fine.
Don't look good. I can read in your body language that something is not right. I have all the reason to prepare myself. If at all you come close to me, I am not going to keep quiet. That is avoidance. Versus ignorance is, I don't care. No matter, oh, come on, yeah, it's all right. Let them be. They are bad people. Let them say what they are saying, which is what they kept doing. When these people closed in and they tried to pull the girl out, the boy definitely tried to fight back and tried to say something to them. And these people, one, they outnumbered them. And two, they pulled out a curtain rod from the bus and they used it to hit the boy. My question to you is, if you can pull out a curtain rod, why can I not pull out another curtain rod and fight back?
Because sometimes you freeze with fear. That's what I would say, that at times you're just so taken aback and you feel so helpless. At times you can't even scream, your mind goes blank. Maybe that's what, they felt cornered.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So situational awareness simply tells me that if I was alert and aware, one, that I had to get into the bus. Probably I did not have any other choice.
Yeah.
So when I get onto the bus and I can smell the booze and I can see people around me, my mind should tell me this is not a good place, get out and wait for maybe another mode of transport.
Get out on the next
Let's
stop.
say that was not possible and I could not wait for another mode of transport.
Yeah.
Then it's a better idea to sit in the front seat, close to the exit. Because
Yes.
when you stay close to the exit, your chances of survival will always be better than running from the end of the bus towards the front of the bus from where you can get out.
Perhaps that
that could
awareness
happen.
wasn't there also. You know, like
Yes.
these are the small
Yes.
things. Even if I were to enter a bus, I probably, I don't know, I would check whether there's a back door or not. Now, these things are very basic, but suddenly my mind is saying, these are the things I guess you have to repeat and repeat to our children as they grow up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Shireen, these are the things that have to become a habit for us. No matter where you are, look around yourself. As I said, presence in the mind. The presence in the mind just is this. That tells me, oh, it does not have a back gate. So I rather sit at the front seat.
Yeah.
And when I'm sitting in the front seat, my chances are better because I could have easily at least done something to reach the door and try to fight back.
Yeah.
You know? Then the last part, as we were talking about, we could have improvised on something to fight back. I call it the weapons of opportunity. If you have a bag with you, if you have a pen with you, if you have keys in your bag, if you have coins in your bag, nothing else, maybe you're just shoes. I put on my shoes in my hands, they become like boxing gloves. And I can definitely ward off for some distance. But I cannot fight with 6 people with just no awareness of where I am.
Yes.
So that is why situational awareness is the primary premise to safety, Shireen. Internationally, the data says 98% of times, situational awareness has been able to save people from a difficult situation. I'm going to give you a quick real life example, and I want all those who are listening to us to participate in this and share their comments when I ask questions so that I can really read your mind and understand how situationally aware you are. So very recently, this case happened and the whole country talked about it, the Hyderabad story of Priyanka Reddy. Everybody talked about it. She was an educated lady, another doctor, you know, and somebody, yes, and somebody who came from an aware family background. She was not somebody who did not know how to deal with life and situations.
And a little maturer also in years. Like she
yes. Yes. So I'll quickly narrate the scenario and then I want you to please talk about it and tell me what went wrong. So there is this girl, Priyanka Reddy, and she goes to work every day, which is a hospital. She takes a cab from a toll plaza. From her home, she used to take the scooty and park at the toll plaza. At the toll plaza, get into a cab and go to the hospital. After she finishes her day, she takes another cab and comes back to the toll plaza, picks up her scooty and goes back home. And she does this every day, Shireen. One fine evening, when she comes back from her workplace, she sees that both the tires of her scooty were flat.
Yes.
And she's looking at the scooty and she's wondering what is it that she can do. Just then, there is another person who gets close to her and she says, bewildered, oh, both the tires are flat. And this guy says, okay, Didi, can I help you? Yahan paas mein 500 meter pe ek chalo wahan puncture bana lenge. And she goes along with that guy. When she goes to that puncture place, which is in the nearby dingy place, in a dingy lane, there was a truck that was parked there already. And there were 2-3 more people in the truck who were waiting for her. When she feels unsafe, she calls up her sister and says, I don't like this place. I'm feeling unsafe. And her sister says, just bunk everything, call a cab and come back home. Don't worry, we'll deal with it later. And she says, okay, I'm managing something, don't worry. And that was the last phone call she made, Shireen. And the next morning, we all got to know that she was raped and burnt at that spot.
And alive.
Yes.
Burnt alive.
Yes, alive at that place. Now, talking of situational awareness, which I earlier also narrated, what does this situation tell you? What are the 5 pointers you can give me from this situation that went wrong? Quickly, I want the people who are hearing me to give me 5 pointers. If you were Priyanka Reddy, or if your daughter was Priyanka Reddy, what would you have told her so that this doesn't happen to her? Quickly.
Can
I'm
I
waiting.
say something here right
Yes,
now? Do
please.
you feel that her sense of being self-sufficient, a lack of fear, went wrong against her
Yes.
judgment of the situation? She felt confident enough to take them on. Maybe they were familiar, but somewhere that very lack of fear betrayed her. See what a catch-22 situation it kind of becomes, because she seemed to
Okay.
be educated. She seemed to be very with it kind of a person who was very aware of her surroundings.
Yes, I have Dr. Resham Sharma telling me that prioritization. Yes, Shireen, I have Dr. Resham Sharma telling me that prioritization was missing. Our lives matter more than objects. Bang on, ma'am. I would like to clap for you and say that this is important. Do we teach our children, when your child goes to school and leaves his water bottle or a pencil box in school and he comes back home, and as a parent, the first thing you say, why can't you be responsible? You don't take care of your things. You keep losing your water bottle every time.
Yeah.
And we do not realize that sometimes it is not possible for my child to remember that because he's been thinking of something else. For example, in this situation, as Dr. Resham Sharma rightly says, taking that scooty back home was not as important as Priyanka Reddy's safety. She could have just left the scooty there, called a cab, and gone back home.
Unless those people were familiar to her and she thought, oh, they won't do anything. Something.
Absolutely, which they were not. So she's absolutely right saying our lives matter more than objects. And more objectively, we have to look at ourselves in a way that if I live, Shireen, I will be able to add how much more to myself. But if I don't live in the car and my jewelry and my stuff is all going to be here and I am not going to be there to use them. So the first point I have here is teach our children, you are the most important person for you. If you live, you're going to have everything in life. What matters is your safety first. Ma'am also says, what is wrong is wrong. How we cannot raise our voice correct. I'm reading out to them. How we fail to eliminate gender stereotypes. Yes.
Yeah.
Then Rohini says, see the flat tires and call a cab immediately. Exactly, Rohini, this is what I meant. So let me say the 5 things, Shireen, that went wrong here. The first, you are taking a path.
We just lost you, Deepti.
Watch all the time.
Deepti, we just lost your audio. We just lost your. And meanwhile, please let me tell everybody who's logged in, whatever questions you put forward, do please. This is a very interesting point, and it'll be wonderful if you could all also put in questions for everyone. Deepti, we've lost your audio. Deepti, can you hear me?
Yes. Shireen?
Yeah, can you say that again? Because we lost you for about a minute or something. Yeah. Hello? No audio, Deepti. What do we do? Yeah, Deepti, maybe
Yes.
you need to unmute. Yeah, there you are. Now we can hear you better.
So I think we lost the network in between, Shireen. I'm extremely sorry.
Yes, no, not to worry.
Yeah. So coming back to my point one more time, the first thing that went wrong is that she did not take note of people around her. So Shireen, when you go out every day and when you have a fixed schedule, and I am somebody who's been watching you from a distance every day, I know everything about you.
Yes.
But what do you know about me? How many times do you turn around and look at people around you?
Yes.
And later, when this case was solved and we got to know that this guy who got close to her had been watching her every day for a long time.
Absolutely.
So there are people around you who are looking at you and watching you. So the first lesson that we learn is wherever you go, no matter what you are doing, look around yourself. Notice the changes around you. And if you feel there is a common face, or there's a common car, there's a common bike that comes around you every day, you have all the reasons to stop and take a note of it. Maybe click a photograph and save in your mobile.
Exactly.
Maybe
Let
share
somebody
with
say
people
so.
around you. Let somebody know that this is happening with you. Or maybe just turn around and speak to them and tell them very, very strongly that I see you around me. Is everything all right? Because when you do not talk, Shireen, you automatically pass on a message to people around you that you are not bothered. In my language, I call it the victim syndrome. You look like a victim who is lost, who is not aware of her surroundings, and she does not know. So in a crowd of 100 people, I will choose that one person who looks lost, so that my job is easier.
Easier, simpler, absolutely.
Yes, I don't want to be caught. The second thing that went wrong here is, on that particular day, when the tires were flat, she had all the reasons to get out of that place as quickly as possible, so that she would not have to be in a place like that. Because this guy who got close to her, he not familiar to him. She did not know him. She had no reasons to trust him. But Shireen, unfortunately, like we already say, in India, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. It's a fantastic idea.
One family,
But are all the people your family?
No.
Can you let everybody into your personal space? But before that, my question is, how many of us educate our children that they have a personal space and they should be careful that everybody and anybody cannot get into their personal space?
Not many of us educate our children that way. No.
And even if you need help, you can't ask for help from anybody and everybody, because the moment you go and share your problems, you are sharing your vulnerabilities, and there are people sitting out there to capitalize on your vulnerabilities.
And this is the biggest mistake we make as Indians. Bhaiya, aap aise kar sakte hain. Bhaiya, can you please help us? That is how.
Yes. And the moment you say that, yes, ask for help in the right places. The third mistake that happened here is, in spite of not knowing the guy, she left a crowded place, which was a toll plaza, and she moved towards that dingy place where he said there is a repair guy. It is okay to say, nahi, aap chhod dijiye, I've called up my brother, my husband, my
family or something.
Yeah. Because when you are at a crowded place, you have so many people around you.
There's always
they cannot help you, Shireen. But the attacker always has the fear that I will be recognized and I do not want to do something in a public place.
That's true.
The fourth thing that went wrong, we already talked about it. She could have just left her bike and gone home. She didn't do that. And the fifth thing that we talk about, she called up her sister who was so many kilometers away from her. My question to all of you is, when you are in distress, you feel like calling your loved ones, your husband, your father, your brother, your sister, without thinking how much time will they take to reach you. Isn't it important to think, Shireen, I must call somebody who is the closest, my Man Friday, or maybe the police, or maybe somebody who's close by who can support me.
Or it is 100, which is always
So rather than calling up her sister, had she called 100 at that point, maybe in 30 minutes, maybe in 20 minutes, somebody could have come and helped her.
The moment she got like she could have just dialed it, kept it, and the moment she got a bad feeling, she could And one call there, they do sometimes, they do help in Hyderabad.
So one thing that we always teach our children is, I'm there for you, baby. I'm going to help you. I'm going to support you. I want everybody who's listening to me right now, I want you to know, as a parent, as a teacher, your biggest responsibility is to make your child independent, to teach your child, I am not going to be there with you always. And every time I'm not there with you, you have to know how to deal with yourself. So rather than saying, I'm going to be there to protect you, my baby, I have to say, baby, you're on your own. So ensure that nothing goes wrong to you.
I'm so sorry, but the exact opposite, because I too am running a school. I mean, you cannot even imagine the extent of protectiveness that people have towards
Yes,
children or the grandmothers and the grandparents also. Yahan tak ki if they don't even deserve a prize or an award for a race, they will say, please give it uska dil rakhne ke liye. What kind of
absolutely.
feeling are you inculcating in a child? Really?
Yes, you are not being honest to your child.
Yeah.
You are creating a world of imaginations,
I know.
and when the reality strikes, the child does not have answer to those
They don't know how
questions.
to deal with it.
So this story, in a nutshell, is what is situational awareness. You don't have to jump in the air, Shireen, to make a fancy kick and punch to fight back.
Yeah.
You just have to have a mind that says, I know I need to take care of myself. I am responsible for my safety. And God forbid something goes wrong, I am the first person who has to fight back. Everybody else will come later, right? So,
That's wonderful. We really need more interactions with you, all of us, to repeat and repeat, and really, because the world is becoming one big bad place to live.
I'm sorry, Shireen, to cut you in between, but then the fact is the world is not becoming bad. It has always been like this.
Yes, we just saw it
It's
differently.
just that now we have started talking about it. 30 years from now, nobody was talking about a rape and a molestation and a domestic violence or anything
Yeah.
like that. Today, we have the courage to come out and speak and
Yeah.
share that with people.
Yes, that's
Right?
true. There are more platforms to share them on.
Yes, yes.
Makes a difference.
So, quickly summarizing what I talked about, 5 things. I said, look around yourself, be aware, break your routine if possible, so that people cannot judge and know exactly what are your timings and
do
what are
every
your
day.
places.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. 2, you are the most important person. Your valuables can come and go. But if
Yes.
you stay, everything else has to be there.
Prioritize yourself.
Yes. 3, always look for help in the right places. Do not go out and share your vulnerabilities with anybody and everybody around you.
Yeah, that's
Right? 4th, call those people who can actually help you, not those who are close to you and those who you love, but those who
That-
can actually add
that's
value to a
such a valid
situation.
such a valid. Because we
Yes.
tend to speed dial is mostly to parents or sister or brother or whatever.
Yes. And the last one is, please teach your children how to fight back. Even if she knew a basic thing, to pull out her key and gouge the eye, or to use her hands and try and hit somebody so that she could get out of that and reach the nearest place, probably she would have lived and we would not have been talking about this
I
right
know.
now.
It brings the saddest, the deepest of sadness to think about her. So young, so gone so brutally. And
Absolutely.
thank you. Really, honestly, these are some points we need to repeat again and again, so they go right into our mind, and especially for our children on campuses.
Absolutely.
And now we come to the COVID storm, this pandemic, which has
Oh,
actually shaken the very foundation.
don't tell me about it.
existence, really. So how can we ensure that we minimize contact points, and how can situational awareness help us in COVID times, especially maybe on a school campus? And I think that's one question that all the educators who are logged in would love to hear it also.
So I think the first thing that we all need to do is accept that we are all living in a new world. So we have to start right from the beginning telling ourselves that maintaining a safe distance is not just about a COVID-19 situation, but maintaining a safe distance is ensuring that I have a personal space and I'm not going to let people get into it. So when we bring it to the COVID-19 situation, it's nothing but personal space. I have a 6 feet distance, which is nothing like extend both your arms and ensure that nobody's touching you out there. But we can't walk on streets like this. So the idea is we have to train our children, train ourselves. Whenever you talk to people, just be at a distance that you are audible, but you can't be touched, which we teach in our safety classes also. The second thing that we can talk about is avoid as much as possible. Somehow I feel, Shireen, ever since this unlock 1 has started, people have this urge of going out. Oh, I've been missing out so much. Oh, I haven't seen my friends. Oh, I haven't done this. Or I haven't done that. I want all of you who are listening to me to think that if you live, you will have all of that. But if any of our loved ones get into that situation, trust you me, it's not going to be the same ever after again.
True.
And what is more important right now to understand is by avoiding crowded places, you are also helping, not spreading the problem. You are being a part of the solution, the positivity around you. The third thing that we need to inculcate is the hygiene habits. So when we talk of school, I'm sure Shireen, you have a very tiny tot school and very
Yes,
little ones
tiny
coming to your
tot
school, like,
and a
yeah,
small little thing. It is
yeah.
a little baby.
So we have always been telling them, wash your hands, beta, don't touch things, don't do things. But saying that is not enough. We all have to live by example. So please be those leaders for your children who look up to you, so that every time you are around them, they see, okay, mama
Set by
washes every
example.
20. Yes,
Set
it
by
naturally comes to them. They get reminded.
because they imitate, but they are young enough, I
Absolutely.
get, not to conceptualize so much as to imitate. So
Yes.
yes, whatever we do,
Yes.
they will imitate.
So we have to start from ourselves. So the rules like wear a mask, maintain social distance, wash your hands every 20 minutes, be hygienic, carry a small bottle of sanitizer in your purse all the time. Maybe you can have it on the school bags, have it tagged on the school bag. So when they enter, they just put it on their hands.
Yeah,
When
we
they
go
come
to
out, they
set.
put it.
Yes, we
Yes.
have to do all that.
Yes.
No school can ever open without all these.
Shireen, a simple example is Japan. You see, Japan has not suffered so much. The whole world is talking about it because they have been practicing these habits for a long,
Exactly.
long time.
Yes, I know. I read about this, and I also thought that even Korea, for that matter,
Yes.
Korea did initially, but they contained it immediately, and that is
Yes.
the reason, because it's a way of life for them. To
Yes.
wash their hands, to wear masks, to keep social distancing, and to be very particular about hygiene. You're so right.
Yes. So we just have to bring this as a habit, and that is automatically going to bring about awareness of ourselves and of people around us in the present times. And most importantly, the last point, Shireen, is let's not cause fear in the name of COVID-19 in our children and say that if you don't wash hands, to make coronavirus ho jayega. Ye mat bolo, please. Because I've heard so many parents talking like this with their children. That's not right, because that's causing so much of fear in their mind. The poor little things, you're going and telling them coronavirus ho jayega. So rather than saying that, we have to say these are healthy habits, these are hygienic habits, and we want you to be the leader. So you teach all your friends how to do that, So make it more interesting and fun for people around you.
You're absolutely right. Keeping our fingers crossed that we can do all this.
Yes.
And there's been wonderful responses from the audience, like not always possible to react, fear numbs many, Japanese are very disciplined, very nice responses. I'm so glad that the audience is with us today. And you were, if you were to read and whatever, so, but, so coming to the next, thank you for this, that, to be alert and aware is one thing, you'll understand that, okay, I'll say, no doubt. But can they alone protect you from, say, for example, domestic abuse, or parental abuse, or it could be bullying, violence? You think even women, for that matter, can they stand up to some kind of violence which is perpetuated at home from?
I wouldn't say alone it is enough to fight back, but alone it is enough to prepare you to fight back. So for example, when we are talking about standing up against a situation like domestic violence or socially induced situations like that, Shireen, all of us will agree, most of the people who have been in these situations have continued to accept it because of some kind of financial, social, emotional pressures that they have been dealing with.
Absolutely. That is the harsh reality.
Yes. And situational awareness simply tells you the first time somebody speaks to me in a language I don't like, or somebody tries to touch me or hit me the way I don't like, that's the first time my mind has to tell me this is not a safe place. Let me start preparing. God forbid, I have to deal with the worst. What is it that I need so that I fortify myself? So rather than looking for help in various corners like NGOs and self-help groups or going to the police stations, the first step is check your reality and know, am I financially independent? Am I socially independent? Am I physically independent? Am I able to communicate with my family and friends about me? Am I able to face the judgment that is going to come along with this, that reality check is situational awareness, Shireen. Knowing where you are, knowing what you have.
So it becomes slightly contradictory. What do you say? The woman, when she knows she has to be tactful, she can't walk out. Then she has to take it. If she stands up, the violence increases because of the patriarchal mindsets. You know, do you feel that at times it becomes a contradiction because the woman
A lot
really
of
wants
times.
to
A
stand?
lot of times, Shireen, it becomes difficult for women
Yeah.
to get out of such situations
Yeah.
because, as I said, they do not have that right kind of environment to stand up for themselves. Especially in domestic violence case, when you're talking about in the lockdown, there has been tremendous increase in domestic violence. And come to think of it, why during lockdown? Because this is the time when the men around us, they know that we cannot get help outside. We know that even the police cannot come and help you. We know that self-help groups and the NGOs cannot reach you. Where will you go and look for help? Start thinking like that.
Absolutely. Or they're so frustrated.
Yes. So, you have to identify the weaknesses around you and within you,
Yeah.
and then prepare yourself accordingly. I'm not saying you have to put up with what there is, but I'm saying prepare yourself to deal with the worst. If at all it goes wrong and you're not able to manage it, you're not able to communicate and have a cordial situation for both of you, which happens in many cases. Ultimately, you will have to take a decision to move out maybe, or to stand up and fight back. And you will not be able to do
Or
that.
to compromise.
Or to compromise. Yes.
So now compromise is the contradiction here.
Yes, compromise. And Shireen, tell me, why does compromise happen? Because we are not capable of the other two options.
Yeah, we are not strong enough from within.
Yes.
And the fear always overtakes. How will I live alone? What will I do? What will I walk out to? So
Yes.
that's what we inculcate right in the beginning, as you say, on all the campuses here. Definitely the coming generation will be a stronger generation. Definitely.
And Shireen, let me add it here that, this is for both the genders. You teach your girls how to be strong and how to fight back and stand up for yourself. And you teach your boys, equally important, how to respect a woman. We are all talking about women empowerment for the last 20 years. But how many of us are actually talking about the boys and men being able to stand up for people around them and the core values that we are talking about?
Absolutely. There are lots of lovely reactions from everybody. So where do we draw a line between being brave and a coward? How to do, but it's totally up to you to maybe later we
so
can.
I would so Reena, just one thing that I would like to say on this, it's something that I like to say always, which is getting into a fight without a preparation is not bravery. And getting out a situation without fighting back is not cowardice.
Yes, absolutely.
So know where you are.
Intelligence.
Yes, know where you are, assess your situation, and then decide whether you want to fight back, whether you want to stand up, or you want to just quietly say, thank you so much, I'm moving out of this.
Yeah.
That is also a tactful way of fighting back, Shireen. That is not being a coward.
Yes, I totally agree. Never get coward or ever cowed down by such tags in life.
Yes.
Look for yourself in such situations. You're not answerable at the end of the day. You know what is the best for you. And in that situation, I feel people should have the strength to say, all right, judge me, I don't care, but I am definitely going to get out of this tactfully, alive, or whatever.
Yes. You have to choose your ways of fighting. We had Gandhiji who fought non-violence, and we also had other people who fought violently. So it's all your choice how you want to do that. But you have to first assess your weapons. What all do you have in your arsenal, which is going to help you fight back?
Absolutely. And whether you have the courage to carry it through, the strength of your convictions to carry you through. It's all very well to, think and then.
But this is a long drawn process, Shireen. We have to start right from the beginning. As the moment your child is 5 years old, 4 years old, you have to start building that resilience and strength in your child, so that when the child grows up, she or he knows, I am firmly footed on the ground and I know what I want in my life. That clarity is important.
So some of our members also want to share some real life situations with you.
Please go ahead.
Some threatening ones. One of our members, Sangeeta Sachde, had a harrowing experience. She got her purse snatched not once, but twice. So over to Sangeeta is going to briefly come and tell you what she went through, how she felt about it. So Sangeeta, are you there with us?
Yeah, Shireen.
There, Sangeeta is. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. How are you, Shireen?
I'm good. Good to see you. So go ahead, tell us. That must have been
Yeah.
very upsetting.
Yeah. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Sangeeta.
Yeah, this is an incident I'm talking about, which happened quite a few years back.
Yeah.
And I was like out in the market shopping with my husband, and two guys came from behind and grabbed my shoulder bag. And I lost my balance, and flat on the road I was. In the process, bruising my nose and my forehead. And because I fell down, these guys had to let go my bag. Otherwise, they would have fallen off the bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I got up, Deepti, I was trembling. I felt physically violated. It was such a traumatizing experience. And then it happened again after a couple of years. Like we were crossing the road to go to a venue. And I don't know, maybe I was a little alert after my last time's experience. From the corner of my eyes, I saw these two guys again coming wrong way. And they grabbed at my clutch. But something made me move my hand back. Maybe it was the alertness, like you said.
Yeah.
And again, I saved it. But it was, I mean, the feeling is undescribable. It is absolutely sickening, what I would say. You know?
I completely feel your pain, Sangeeta. And like you rightly said, you feel violated. You feel like you've been reduced to a thing. Like I'm a person, and how can somebody treat me like this?
Yeah. True.
So couple of things on bag snatching, chain snatching, particularly, which is a very common form of crime, Sangeeta. So the first thing is, whenever you walk on the road or when you are going to a public place on foot, always remember to walk on the opposite side of the traffic. Right from our primary schools, we are taught, keep to your left, keep to your left. I want you to understand, in India especially, we are a left-hand drive country. So the cars and the bikes and the vehicles, it's all on the left side of the road. If you also walk on the left side of the road, what's coming from behind, you can't see. And when you can't see, your responses are very, very slow, which is why most of the time people come from behind to chain snatch or to pull the bag. So if you are walking on the opposite side, which is the right hand side, I can see the cars and the bikes coming towards me. And when you can see better, you have a fraction of second to respond to it and maybe move out, or maybe just put your hands up to stop it, or your mind responds faster. It's the reaction which is very important at that time. So all of you make a habit, even for your morning walks, walk on the opposite side of the road. The second thing to remember is, whenever you are on a walk, on foot especially, do not have conspicuously big bags or jewelries or something that shows you off. Like I always say, we women have a habit of dressing up like a Christmas tree. When you walk on the road, you've got jewelries here and here, you've got a clutch in your hand and a big bag on your shoulder. So it's like giving an invitation. Ye bhi le lo, ye bhi le lo, ye bhi le lo, jo chahiye wo le lo. So you have to be very particular that I'm going to be in a place, if you are visibly more attractive than everybody else in terms of value attached to you, obviously I'm going to pinpoint you and I'm going to try and get close to you. So carrying a cross body bag is a better idea, than carrying a shoulder bag. Carrying a purse which has money inside the bag is better idea than having a small clutch which is visible that this has money or jewelry or whatever in your hand. Carrying a smaller bag than having a big shoulder bag is a better idea, because that shoulder bag itself, like you said, you were pulled down on the ground because the force with which the man was pulling you and the bag, it pulled you down together, right? The third thing I would like to add here, whenever you are in a situation like this, please remember, because you were vulnerable. That is why you were attacked in a crowd of 100 people. They chose you because you looked like a vulnerable person. So dress appropriately, carry yourself in a way that you
And
don't
have
look
that genuine
vulnerable.
expression on your face, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you look strong. For example, Shireen, when you go out, tie your hair is a simple habit. Why? Because if
Okay.
my hair is loose, it's so easy to grab my hair.
That's right. It is.
And
Oh,
I'm inviting you to
yeah.
do that. So carry yourself in a way that you do not look
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Minimize
And
any kind of weapon.
yes, minimize that look
Yeah.
that is going to tell people that I am vulnerable. And the last thing, Sangeeta, for you to remember here is it is okay to give away 1,000, 5,000 bucks. We don't carry more than that in our wallets.
We don't
But it is
carry.
not
Yeah.
okay to fall down with it, maybe dragged with it, and have lifetime injuries and scars. Because your valuables, once gone, they can come back to you. But your health and
Yeah.
fitness or your life, once gone, never comes back to you. I hope that answers your
Yeah.
question, Sangeeta. Next time,
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that you're
Absolutely.
going to wear your sports shoes, you're going to carry a crossbody bag, you're going to tie
I
your hair
always
when
do
you're going
that
to buy
now.
vegetables in the market.
So what's the fashion?
True. Very true. Thank you.
Vanity
Thank
of
you
a
so
woman.
much, Deepti.
This is what happens to the vanity of a woman. So,
I'm telling you, Shireen, it is very beautiful to wear sports shoes and track pants and go and buy vegetables. When you go for the weddings and parties, that's the time, deck up with your all blingy stuff that you wear.
now I'm going to come to one subject which I know is very dear to your heart, too close to all of us. And that is one of our biggest fears is the well-being of our school-going children, our adolescent children, say from point A, transport, say from the
Yes.
house to the school, A to B. B
Yes.
is school. Now the well-being there, the bullying, the how it is, the ragging, then of course the little heartache, and what all abuse, all that happens there. Then from
Yes.
B to C, again back from school. So much happens between all that. So a lot of principals have joined us because this is a very relevant subject and your answers hold great relevance to them. So Aparna Kapoor would like to join and share an experience with us. Aparna, hi.
Hi, how are you both?
Hi, Aparna.
Looking.
Deepti, I've been working with children, with students for a very long time. And I've worked with students of various age groups, right from those who are going to college to those who are just beginning school. And, over the years, one of the blessings of working with children is so many of them and so many of the parents will really begin to trust you.
Yes.
So often it feels great if you're able to help them because, beyond school and beyond studies, when those conversations start and they want your input, if you're able to help them in a certain way, if you're able to support them in a certain way, it feels great. But the situation that I was thinking I would discuss with you today is something where, at that time it felt like I'm not quite sure what I can say here or what advice I can give. And this will speak more to your qualification in psychology than your qualification in self-defense.
Yes.
And Shireen, it's not really so much to do with school as such, but it's just about some incidents that have been shared by some of the people I have known.
Yes.
All of us read about it, and I think all of us kind of know that children sometimes are faced with situations where, if there is an inappropriate touch or something, it seems it happens more frequently with people that they know, people who are maybe even supposed to be part of the family or something.
Yes.
And if that happens, one is all of us, the grown-ups, should always try to make sure that nothing of that kind happens. But if it has happened and remedial steps have to be taken, the sad part is that when it is somebody who's connected with the family and the family is not able to, if it was a stranger, you would name and shame.
Yeah.
Call it out. You
Yeah, but
yeah.
if it is an uncle, you know,
Yeah.
it is the mother's brother or it is the father's brother, they cannot just, you know, cut off connections. And I know that the child then feel continues to feel quite betrayed.
Yes.
Like, you know, if a grown woman is saying my purse got snatched and it made me feel so horrible, you know, that feeling of victimhood, that, you know,
Yeah.
somebody could get away with doing this to me. So what a young girl would feel knowing that somebody did something, but beyond a certain, you know, beyond the initial step of putting a stop to that situation, beyond that, what needs to happen does not happen.
She has to
Yeah.
come into contact.
So how
over
does
years
one
with the child.
address that gap?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aparna, for bringing this up. This is such a common thing that happens in our country. And the data says 93% of crime is committed by people who know you. And let me first start with the fact that my more than 10 years of working with children all over the country and abroad has brought me in touch with so many children starting from grade 5 and 4 to grade 12 who have shared their personal experiences with me when they were violated emotionally, mentally, physically. In fact, I just last week started a podcast on this concept where I'm sharing the stories of those people who have suffered such situations and how we can learn from them and we can become better. So coming to the point here is that
we
first
lost you.
thing,
We
when
lost
it is done by people who we know. You lost me? Can
No,
you
it's
hear
on.
me?
It's on. Yeah.
Now we can hear you very clearly.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing, Aparna, is when we know that people who are close to us in our family are doing something to us, the fear traps us because my parents are not going to trust me, is the first thing that comes to the child's mind. And I have had instances where my children have shared with me even situations where the father has been the violator in a story of a child. So, and I'm talking about the best of the best in our country. I'm not talking about the underprivileged segment of society. So it happens everywhere, Aparna. And the first thing that you have to start with your child, as a mother, I would say, you have the biggest responsibility. When the child starts growing up and starts talking and understanding, you have to decide what is the age appropriate information in terms of sex education. So for a 5-year-old, a sex education is different. For a 10-year-old, it is different. For 15 years old, it is different. But if you have ever spoken to your child, what is right and what is wrong, what can be touched, what cannot be touched, your child can decide that this touch was not right. And I do not appreciate this kind of touch. So when you have educated your child with that touch, you have also told your child that you have a right to say no to that touch when you don't like it. But when you have not educated your child lives in a domain of fear. I don't know whether this is right or wrong. I don't know what people will think about me. I don't know whether my mother will trust me. But if the mother has already spoken to the child about it before, then the child knows that my mother understands my problem. She's going to stand by me rock solid. And that feeling takes the child out of the domain of fear to the domain of action. Imagine a 10-year-old girl being touched by a chacha or a mama or a fufa, and she stands up and she gouges his eyes or maybe gives one nice elbow on his face and runs to her mother and says, "Ma, he touched me in a way I don't like. And I don't want to see him in my house again." Now tell me, Aparna, does the parent or does the society need to come in and do anything there? No. It's done.
It's done.
Over. The child is empowered. The child is strong to take decisions and stand up for herself at the age of 10. You don't have to go and kill people. You just have to know when to stand up and say no. And the moment you have helped the child draw the boundaries around her and tell her very clearly, differentiate between what is right and what is wrong, your child automatically gets the confidence to stand up and speak for herself and even fight back and even make a noise at that point. If she was my daughter and she runs to me and says, "Ma, this is what happened," I don't have to go and name call Shireen. I don't have to go and shame the person. It has already been done.
Said it in a way, and that must be the most awkward, but the person will get the message.
Yes.
And never come or do again. If nothing,
Yes.
others also. Yes, that's enough.
Yes. And this needs learning, Aparna. This needs teaching, which is why I always emphasize start young, start with 5 years old and tell them.
Something here, having a school in the age group till 6 years, we do this Satyam, the good touch, bad touch, stranger danger. But it has its downside also. The little one starts screaming even when it's genuinely Chachu or somebody who's actually come home and hug the child. And they scream, it's bad touch, it's bad touch. So it has its
And also, Shireen, I would like to add here, we're all talking about good touch, bad touch all the time, but I want you to understand, like Aparna rightly said, when a crime and violence, why I call it crime and violence, because violating a child's personal space is a crime. When a crime and violence happens, nobody straight goes and touches on the lips or the chest or the groin or the hips. The person will first become child friendly, will first try to take the child to a place where the child is vulnerable and then do that thing. So educating your child on who is allowed to take you to that place or allowed to be with you and who is not is the first step, Aparna, is the first step. And if the child has been violated and nobody listens to the child, I think that is a remedial situation where you as a teacher have to get the parents or the family involved in it and tell them that your child is dealing with something and your child needs to be spoken to. Otherwise, the child loses trust in the family forever. And it has a long-term scar on child's personality. So one thing that we can do here, Aparna, is if it has happened, we can be those people who give the courage to the children to say, it's okay. Once it has happened, go to your mom and still speak to her and tell her that this is what happened to you and you're not happy about it. So giving them the courage to speak up and fight back for themselves is the only thing I will recommend, Aparna, because we as outsiders going and trying to help the child is not going to help the child in the long run. It is not empowerment of the child. Empower the child. Give the tools to the child to stand up for herself and speak up. And I would say fight back if needed. Even your little ones can be taught what is it that they can do to hit somebody and create a safe distance and then scream out loud, yeah, I don't like it. That's enough. That's enough.
So it's just that, I guess that is what comes in. Taking action, if the child herself or himself takes action, that's better, because the kind of situations I was talking about was like, yes, we spoke to mom, no problems about not believing or whatever. And yes, mom spoke to the uncle or whatever, but the child feels awful if for every family celebration that uncle is around.
Yes.
And you know how we Indians are, extended family.
Yes.
And nobody wants, and
so again, Aparna, the bigger problem that is happening,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the bigger problem that is happening here is that the child feels that I have been violated and in front of everybody, I'm pretending to be absolutely fine. We have to stop that pretense. And we have to give the power to the child to stand up in front of everybody and tell that uncle, I don't like you, don't get close to me. So next time onwards, the uncle is not going to come for social gatherings. Your child is not violated. The uncle has to be taught a lesson, because today it is your child. Tomorrow it will be my child. Day after tomorrow it will be somebody else's child. People who are predators, they don't stop at one.
Yeah. I think that's a very valid one, Aparna. Thank you so much. Honestly, I think this is one topic that's been dear to all. And your answers were wonderful as usual.
Thank you.
On to the next one. See how interesting it is, Deepti. Time is just flying back. So
I hope we are not way beyond the time schedule.
We are, so we quickly try to, but they are very important points. And this is about elderly abuse. This is about making our senior citizens more secure, especially the disabled ones. Is there any way to ensure that our senior citizens don't get harmed or abused? Vanu Ahuja, she would like to ask you, because her parents live alone and she talks about senior citizens and their safety. Vanu, over to you, and hello.
Hi Deepti. Hi Shireen.
Hi Vandana.
So Deepti, your talks have given me a goosebumps, I Okay, so here my concern today is the security of our senior citizens, and my mom, dad falling in this category because they are 70 plus, and they stay alone in this property, and they have access to, you know, all kinds of people coming in, maybe the gardeners or the guards or the repair guys or the cable and so on and on. So as such, I have fears for their safety. And, you know, more so after hearing this incident of an elderly woman who was murdered by her servant, an old servant.
Yeah.
And another incident of an elderly couple that I know, you know, some stranger parked a vehicle outside their gate, and how they got into an argument, and he threatened to like hit them.
Yeah.
So in situations like these, how do they deal with situations like these? What is the safety? What are your suggestions on safety of our senior citizens here?
Thank you so much, Vandana, for talking about this, because we always tend to look at our parents as, you know, they have the wisdom so they can deal with situations. But we have to accept that our children and our parents are the most vulnerable category of people, because the physical prowess that you need to fight back is not as much as you have in your youth. So a couple of pointers to bring out here. I'm sure you do the reference check and the background check, and all those people who work with your parents and all that must be in place. Some things that you need to work on. The first is basic physical fitness of your parents. If as much as possible, please tell your parents that they need to walk a little, they need to work out a little, they need to do a little, so that God forbid there is a situation, they can run 100 meters to the neighbor's door and ring the bell. Just that much I am asking for. You know, so just that much if we do. The second thing that you can do is teaching them maybe how to use small weapons. When I say weapons, why I call them weapons is you can use them in the time of duress. For example, a pepper spray. Everybody talks about a pepper spray. Having a pepper spray is a great idea, but having used it before is what is more important. You have a pepper spray kept somewhere. I ideally would recommend for elderly people, when you open the latch of the door, as you open the door, just on the right hand side, there should be a small platform or something where you have a pepper spray kept. So when I'm opening the door and somebody's drunk or somebody's trying to push me or push his way inside, I can quickly pull it and enough to bang the door and close the door there, you know.
Their reflexes become very poor.
Yeah,
as
I was
they
going
get
to say
older.
that.
My mother's so helpless.
So.
I cannot even
Yes.
imagine all these things, really. You know, because of
but-
the old age.
But pepper spray does not need so much. Pepper spray just, you know, because you've never used, it's like a perfume spray. They are using perfumes.
reflexes are slow.
Yes, I get that point, but giving them that basic you know, like awareness that you can do something like this.
Yeah.
What is most important is you have the jali wala darwaza. Earlier times every house used to have that, but now we have the fancy modern houses where the main door just opens and you have an access to the house. Especially if people are living in apartments or houses like that, then that's the only door which is the entry and exit. So I would recommend have a door which you can see through before opening the main door. So the entry is not granted to everybody. The access is not given to everybody, like how we used to have in olden times. So if I can see through, I know you have the peephole, but for elderly parents, peephole does not work so much. So it's a good idea to have the second layer of safety. Next thing that you can do for them is have the immediate dials on their mobile, the fast dial, not for you, but for the neighbor next door, or but for people who are closest to them, which we were talking about in situational awareness. We always call the loved ones, but we don't call those people who can actually help us. So I'm sure when your elderly parents are living, you have a Man Friday who supports them, or you have their friends and your friends who are around them. So have a call on their button, which just by pressing it goes to them. Or maybe have a phone next to the door. If there is a problem, they just have to press that emergency button and that goes to the nearest person that you are going to help. There are many kinds of apps available. If your parent cannot call also, they just have to drop the phone. There's an app available which you can download on the phone if you go on the App Store. It's called Safety Pin. There are many safety apps available. So if you just have the app there and you drop the phone, it automatically sends a message to at least 4 people that I am in danger.
That's a good one. I didn't know about it, to be very
Yeah. So or like, for example, a phone like this, you just have to do a double click, you know, like do a double click here it sends an emergency signal to somebody. Or you drop the phone, it's going to send an emergency signal to somebody. Then there are fantastic alarms available in the market, which are called ultrasonic alarms. Very simple, small device. You can have it in the keychain, the car keychain or the house keychain. It's like a pin attached to it. And the moment you pull the pin out, it makes a very dirty sound. You can't even imagine, worse than an ambulance noise, that is, you know. And it can go up to 5 kilometers. So the moment I pull that out, for example, you said that car stopped by and somebody happened to the elderly parents. You just have to pull that thing out, and in a fraction of a second, there'll be at least 20 people there. Kya hua, ye awaaz kahan se aa rahi hai? Kya hua, kya hua? That's all we need, Vandana. We need people around us. And the moment you have people, you at least act as a deterrent to the crime that is going to
There's
happen.
safety in numbers, always.
Yes.
Deepti, but would it be feasible to put it there on the main road? If you stay on the main road, how will you, safeguard that particular place to yourself?
If you're living on the main road, the buzzer that I'm talking about, the alarm is not on the main road. It's in your hand. It's in the keychain that you have. So even on the road, if you do that, it causes so much of sound. It is something which is internationally used. You know, when I went to Israel, this is one thing I learned from there. The elderly there have a very beautiful system. They have a sling bag like this. Every elderly carries it. They have a whistle which is on top of the bag, just in case there is a problem. They can whistle out. So the moment somebody whistles out, people nearby will turn around and see, hey, where's that whistle sound coming from? You know, and there people are trained. And there people are trained that if a whistle sound is coming, which means somebody is asking for help. So similarly, I'm saying in India, because we are not trained, the general people on streets are not trained to come and help. So you have to make a loud sound which attracts the attention of people. So if you have a keychain, make a habit is what I'm saying. You can just tell your parents, Papa, every time you go out, have this clipped onto your pants buckle, or maybe have this key in your hand. It just keeps it handy. Pull it out. That's all you have to do. And it makes a very bad buzzing noise, and you can attract people around you. Vandana, one thing that you need to understand is with elderly, the only support that can happen is people from outside.
That's true.
Right.
Especially when you are talking about the house help being the criminal, you cannot trust people. So if you're not trusting them, then you only need people from outside to come to help. So the idea is to make noise, to reach out, to have emergency buttons on your mobile, to have emergency alarms next to your door, so that people around you get notified as fast as possible, and you can get help as early as possible for your parents. That's the best you can do for them.
Thank you
This
so
is
much.
great.
And there's a
Very,
question-
very informative.
Yeah, very informative. And which app, which we'll ask you later about, Deepti. And today
Yes.
we come now to the last question. This is about the modern digital world, where there have been numerous instances of cybercrime, which you've also mentioned in your past seminars. So how
Yes.
can we protect ourselves and our children from this vicious stalking, trolling, hacking, and of course, theft? So Jasmine Singh would like a few tips about this, as they had to go through a real harrowing experience again. So over to Jasmine. Hello.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Jasmine.
How are you? We've learned
I'm
so
good.
much from you today.
Thank you.
So the incident that I'm going to share with you is not something that I went through, but my brother did. And I'm just going to read it out so that I don't miss any details. And I'll be very quick because I know we've crossed the time limit. Okay. So my brother runs a bus service, and the booking information numbers on Just Dial were hacked. And someone in Bihar started to receive the calls that were being made by the customers. And this person responded by asking for money to be wired to some account in exchange for tickets. So the customers, who obviously have been using the service for years, just gave out their personal card information without, thinking.
Oh.
And once the bookings were made, the hackers withdrew 9,900, that's 9,900 rupees from 3 accounts. So the customers lost their money. My brother filed this case at the cyber crime unit in Chandigarh. but the tracers could not be, the hackers could not be traced. And my question is, how do you handle a situation like this where you're just feeling helpless, you lose money, and we're all using Just Dial. I use it myself for my small business. And we're also using platforms like Paytm and Google
ATM
Pay,
and all, yeah.
where you will
Yeah.
obviously trust. I mean, it is being used only for these, purposes. So, what
So
do we
there are
do?
two things that happen here, Jasmine. Like one way of doing a theft is when you upload your credit card or debit card details, you have the 3-digit, the password which you upload, and the moment you do that, and the CVV as we call it, the moment you do that, it gets saved on certain system, and with that CVV is what people can use your card to, which is why the government introduced the OTP system, right? The moment you have to make a payment somewhere, you get an OTP on your mobile. And when you enter the OTP is when the amount gets deducted. Without putting the OTP, no online transaction happens in today's time. So how do people track you is, most of the times when people have done this, they will ask you, ma'am, aapka ye theek nahi chal raha hai, ya ye site theek nahi chal raha, ma'am, would you please download this thing so that, and the moment you are downloading something on your mobile which they have asked you to, I am warning you that download means nothing but sharing your screen. Now, sharing your screen, for example, I share my screen with you right now. You can see everything that is happening on my screen.
Yes.
So the moment the OTP comes on your mobile, it also shows the balance amount in your account, or it shows the further details with that OTP on your account, and that is what people use to hack your accounts. So two things here. The first is, whenever you are making a payment on any online transaction, once you have made the transaction, delete the details like CVV and all that you enter to make a purchase. It's a good idea to delete it after you've done it once. What we do is we log in and we leave it there. Fir to use karenge na, next time to hum fir isi se kar lenge. So once you have left the details there, then you can be in a situation where it can be misused. The second thing to remember is, please do not download any software on your mobile or your laptop if somebody has asked you to share your screen or do, ma'am, I'll help you, please download, it'll help us connect better. No, I don't want, because no authorized agency, even Just Dial or Make My Trip or anybody for that matter, will not ask you to do anything like that. They will for max ask you, ma'am, get in touch with your bank if it's not working, right? So when you get a message and it says call back on this number or whatever, these apps, they do not give you any mobile number to call. It is all fake. The moment you get a mobile number, or you get a message, like earlier it used to be phishing. Phishing is a kind of an online crime that happens when people send you a mail, and the moment you click on the mail, it shares your screen and a lot of your data goes there.
Yeah.
Similarly, now it is happening in terms of SMSs. So it's called smashing. So SMSing. So, through the SMSs, people send you a link or a mobile number. The moment you click on that or you call on that number, your mobile with certain software, they are able to duplicate, and that is how they can take out the money. So please do not call on those numbers. Please do not download any softwares. And the third thing, which is very important, is make a habit of changing your passwords regularly, because so much of online theft is happening right now. Once in a month or once in 2 months, you should change your password of your apps that you are using. Even your email IDs, even your Facebook or Insta for that matter, can be hacked, and so much can be put there. So change your passwords, and when you put your passwords, do not have like simple and easy passwords, which all sites tell you. Have a strong password so that it is not easily hackable. Right? And the third thing to remember is, which most people have started doing now, when you make online transactions, try not to make it from your regular account, because your regular account has certain amount of money, which is maybe, more catchy to the eyes who are following you. So using a credit card is a better idea, or using a card which is generally used for bookings and which has maybe, let's say, 5,000 for a month as a limit, which I'm using for making online tickets. So in case something goes wrong, only that amount is gone. Otherwise, your entire account is switched to somebody else's account, and you really do not know how to deal with that solution.
Yeah, you just feel helpless.
Yes, yes. So like, like you said, Jasmine, we can make complaints after it has happened, but once it has happened and you really
Yes.
can't do much about it. So
Yeah.
before it happens is when you have to be careful about it. So
Yeah.
three things we
In
talked
our
about.
case, fortunately, he had filed the case before the customers could get back to him and
Yeah,
file a case against him.
yeah.
Yeah, we just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, so these are the three things that we can do. One is the SMSing that we talked about. So once you get SMSs, the numbers and the links, please do not go on them. 2, do not download a software which can mirror your screen on mobile or on laptop. And 3, make a habit of changing your passwords in every platform so that it is difficult for people to. And without OTP, no transactions happen. So do not leave your CVVs and OTPs with people who are not known to you. I hope that answers your question, Jasmine.
Thank you, Deepti. It answers all our questions and more. But still, I feel this is not enough. We all want to talk to you about gender sensitization, gender issues, safe environment on campuses, children growing up with different mindsets, understanding when to say no, about fear, about so many more things. So I think we should definitely meet again and meet soon. Even this has kind of left us wanting more. But I thank you so much. It's been one of the most wonderful, most interactive sessions. And though we did have one misogynist kind of a comment today, I don't know if you read it or not. It was anonymous. What about these women who leave a mess and who deserve, I think, all this?
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Like, you remember, Shireen, I told you right in the beginning that we as women, we are brought up in a certain way that it is difficult for us to accept and evolve as a woman and hold the hands of other women around us. And kudos to Fulkari for doing that. We're all holding hands together. And I think that's where the future lies. A woman stands by a woman, and all of us together can bring about that change in our society.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to get in touch with our lovely Deepti, you can do so at deeptishankar@ymail.com. And her number is 987-340-6416. But you can always take the number from us and the email whenever you want. Deepti, can't wait to have you over back soon. And thank you to every single member who logged in, to all the esteemed principals, the educators, the educationists who took out the valuable time to be with us. We hope you're taking something valuable back with you also today. Nothing more.
Thank you so much, Shireen. Thank you, Fulkari, for having me here. And extremely sorry for crossing the timelines.
Oh, we loved it. Time just flew by, I'm sure, for everybody. Thank you, everybody.
All the best to all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.